Hi, welcome to the Rose at Home channel. I'm Rose, I am at home, and I am so glad that you have joining me today. So I have a lot of books, in case you haven't noticed. I own a lot of books. A lot of the books behind me I have not read yet, over 200 of them. The only downside is that sometimes it makes it hard to decide what to read next. So by having a lot of books, I finish something and then I have so many options, it makes it a problem. Now I know a lot of YouTubers play different games to select their TBR. They have different boards and cards and bingo, and I love watching them. I love kind of playing along and thinking what on my shelf I would use for that prompt. But I'm a mood reader. If I try to force myself to stick to that type of selected TBR, I tend to fall into reading slumps because I'm not interested in those things, but I don't feel right reading something else, and then is just a problem. And so I have come up with what I think is a wonderful solution, and it is my TBR game, but it's not really a game, but it is called My Mood Picks My TBR. And so I've selected a number of prompts that are all based on mood. There are no punishments. I don't have to read anything that I select. If something else fits that mood better during the month, I can switch. No harm, no foul. It stops me from just scanning hundreds of books or going through my Goodreads and flipping and flipping and flipping. It gives me a smaller pool of things to pick from, and I think, at least so far, it is a couple of days into the month, it's working well, and I think it's gonna be amazing. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first prompt for My Mood Picks My TBR is I wanna feel good. So this is a book that you think you're gonna feel good reading, you're gonna enjoy the reading experience, it's gonna give you that kind of warm fuzzies that are great. Romance might do that for you. Something funny might do that for you. If there's a self-help that you think is gonna make you feel better, whatever is gonna make you feel good to read, that's totally what goes in this prompt. And for me, I selected Emily Henry's Happy Place. How does this not make me feel happy? It's pink, it's got people at the beach, it's literally talking about a place you go that makes you feel good, it makes you feel happy. As you can see from my bookmark, I'm actually already about halfway through this, and I am enjoying the reading a lot. So the premise for this book is that there is a long-time couple. They got together during college, they were engaged for a long time, and a few months before the book starts, he called her and in a 4-minute phone call broke everything off. She's not wanted to tell anybody. Even though she's got some really good friends that she absolutely adores, she just feels like them breaking up breaks up their whole friend group because they were kind of a group of 6 that were always together. And so she put it off telling them, and every year the friend group goes on a vacation and they decide that they are going to pretend to still be together for this last time of the vacation. So they technically are fake dating, but also kind of enemies dating because she's very hurt, she's very angry. She doesn't really understand what happened other than to blame herself. This is, for me this month, my absolute I want to feel good read. I can't wait till the end of the month to tell you all of my feels. If you want to be sure to find out exactly what I think about this book, please go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification button so that you will get notified as soon as I post that video, which will be near the end of the month. So the next prompt is, I want to think. So this could be to pick a nonfiction. This could be to pick an own voices. Could also be a classic that you know is more literary fiction, is going to require more brain power when you really want to be focused and thinking about what you're reading. So what I selected is Cheryl Strand's Tiny Beautiful Thing. This is actually a book of advice columns where people wrote in letters to Dear Sugar, and they put them together in this to create something of a memoir. From what I understand from the trailers for the Hulu series, which I have not watched yet, but will watch after reading this, it's a lot of advice about getting older, appreciating your life when all your kids are grown. Here I am, my son just turned 19, last year of teens, and yeah, so I'm in that transitional kind of place myself, and I'm really looking forward to this. The next prompt is, I want a good scare. Now, this doesn't have to be horror. This could be thriller. This could be suspense for you. Something that's going to kind of keep you on the edge of your seat and maybe a little like nervous. So for me, I picked How to Sell a Haunted House. I picked this for a couple of reasons. First off, my daughter had mentioned that she wanted to maybe buddy read it. She is working on getting a copy for herself. And then at some point, hopefully this month, Kai, we're going to read this one at the same time and get to enjoy it. Like I said, I didn't have the best experience with the other Grady Henry that I read, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, but my daughter had read Horror Store, which is another one of his, and really enjoyed it. So we're gonna give this a shot together as soon as I'm in the mood for something spooky scary. Okay, so the next mood prompt is, I want some twists and some turns. So whenever I'm thinking, I want a thriller, or I want like a cozy mystery, or I want something where it's gonna keep me guessing all the way to the end, that's what this spot is for. And for this month, I picked Diane Chamberlain's Big Lies in a Small Town. I told you all about this book in my possible summer reads TBR video, where I talked about books that I have that I thought would fit, and someone commented that they really wanted to know more about this book and my thoughts on it. So I'm definitely going to be including this one this month. So there will be a wrap up of what I think about it at the end of the month. So I'm not going to go through the inner flap again. Like I said, if you want to know more about this book, it is in my summer recommendations video from a couple of videos back. So this one is a dual timeline. One timeline is in the 1940s, one timeline is current, and it deals with a mural that is painted in a library in a small town. One person was hired to paint it, one person is hired to restore it, and the mystery comes along with the mural and the painting and the town and what all's happening with there. I'm really excited to get to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of figure it out and ride along with it. So the next prompt is for whenever I'm in the mood for a really good cry. I want something emotional. I want to be deep in my feelings. I want to just be totally enveloped in someone else's sorrows and sadness and just have that cathartic event happen through a book. And so for this one, I picked The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer. This was one of my I keep referencing other videos. Watch my other videos, guys. I think you'll really like them. But this one was my book of the month pick. One of my book of the month picks that I just got in May. And this book is about a woman who is a death doula. Now, I know what a doula is when it comes to helping people to give birth, but she is someone who is there with people when they die to help make that an easier transition and to have them have company so that they're not alone through that. And that just sounds like it's going to be really, really sad, and it's going to be emotional, and there's going to be a lot of feelings. And so if I'm in the mood for something that's going to be like that, like I'm ready for a nice, good, cathartic cry, I think this is the book that I'm totally going to grab. The next prompt is to pick something for when you're in the mood to escape. A really good fantasy, a sci-fi. Maybe it's even a reread of something you've read before that you can just jump straight into that world and get out of this one. And so for this was the hardest pick for me because I had a number of things that I thought could work in this category. And so I might end up doing this category more than once over the course of the month. But the one that's going to go on my TBR is The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, and this is by Shannon Chakraborty. This is look at how beautiful that book is. Oh, I still love this book so much. This is a pirate story about a retired pirate woman who gets dragged back into the pirate world for one last heist, and it's fantasy and heists and pirates and adventures, and how is that not totally an escape? I'm super, super, super excited to get to this one. It's probably coming up sooner rather than later, but this is my pick for this month for when I am looking for an escape. So the next prompt is for when you're in the mood for something challenging. Maybe you're looking for really diving into one of those really long books. I'm looking at you, Stephen King books. Whatever it is that intimidates you and that you think would be challenging for you. So for if I end up in the mood for a really good challenge, I told you guys, I think it was the last video, Salman Rushdie intimidates me. I don't know why. I haven't read any of them. I own 4 books of his and I haven't read a one because I'm so intimidated. When I was talking about this book earlier, I said it was Quixote. I don't know if it's Quixote or Quixote because it's based on Don Quixote, so it might be pronounced that way. But either way, this is on my list for when I'm looking for something challenging. It is basically the story of a writer who is writing a story about a man similar along the lines to Don Quixote. I still a little intimidated, but it is there. It is on the first look at when I'm pulling something next to read and I have the time and I have the mental faculties over the summer. So this is on the list for June and we'll see. Again, I don't do punishments, but it's there so that I can try to give it a shot. Okay, on the absolute other side of the fence now is I want something seasonal. I get that way, like at Christmas, I went out and bought like 3 cozy Christmas mysteries last year just because I wanted to read things where it was snow and cute and cozy and all of that type of thing. In the summer, I love books that are set on beaches. That's what I'm looking for here. For this one, I put Mary Kay Andrews' The High Tide Club, and I'm really looking forward to this. From what I understand, there is an older woman who has an awesome beachside kind of mansion-y house, and a younger, I don't know if she's a relative, but who's coming in to kind of help her fulfill her last wish and get her old friends back together at the beach house. It sounds awesome and it sounds fun, and I've read Mary Kay Andrews before. I've enjoyed them, especially the ones that are set on the beach. So I'm looking forward to getting to this month. The next spot on the TBR is for something that you've had on the shelf for a while that you just keep not getting to. Literally called, I've wanted to read this for a while. And as you guys know, I did a video a few weeks ago of my oldest physical TBR books, things that I've had since, I believe it was April of 2019. And the one that I decided to pull for this month is Erin Morgenstern's The Night Circus. Everyone and their cousin has already read this, I know, and so I'm out of the loop. I've had friends who have told me that this is brilliant, that this is wonderful, that I'll absolutely enjoy it. I need to get to it. If you're one of those folks who has not read it, it is obviously there's a circus, there's some type of competition, there's a whole bunch of hijinks and that will ensue, and so I'm really looking forward to it. Erin Morgenstern's The Night Circus. The next category is the opposite of the last category. It's the ooh shiny category. It's I just got this and I am so excited. I have to read it right now. I don't care if it doesn't fit in any of the other categories. This obviously would have, but it's going here because I cannot wait to get to it, and it is Mark Lawrence's The Book That Wouldn't Burn. And I still can't tell you exactly what this is about, except that there's a library and there's books and there's people and it's a chunker and it's fantasy, and I think it's going to be amazing. It obviously could have fit into the escape category, but this is brand new, so I decided to put it in this category. I had gotten it from my son for Mother's Day, and so I'm super, super excited to get to it. So this is my pick for oh shiny. Okay, so the last category that I pick ahead for is the I really need to read this month. So this is for things that you are for definitely buddy reading with a friend, or things that are book club picks that you absolutely need to get to in that month, that they can't kind of get moved along. And so for myself, I have a local independent bookstore. They do actually 4 book clubs a month. I tried doing all 4 when they first started doing this, in 2022 and it failed miserably. That did not work for me, but it is summer and so I'm going to give it a shot with 2 of them. Part of the reason that I went ahead and signed up for 2 is because the first pick, which is TJ Klune's Under the Whispering Door, I've already read this, but I'm going to admit I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The House in the Cerulean Sea, and I think it's because the entire time I was reading it, I kept comparing it. I had just reread House in the Cerulean Sea before it. They don't go together. They're not companion novels. I'm not even sure they're in the same universe. It's a very different, it's its own story. And so I am planning to reread it before I go to that book club. That one's near the end of the month, and give it its own shot. Instead of comparing it, letting it be its own thing. And I think I'm gonna like it a lot more with a second read. So that's what I'm doing for one of my picks for book club. And I have a second one, and this book club is actually this afternoon, so I have already read this. I started it at the end of May and I finished it a few days ago, and it is 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. So the book club for this one is the mysteries and thrillers, so I'm already finished with this. This is about a bookshop owner who wrote a blog post years ago listing what he thought were the 8 perfect murders in literature, and an FBI agent comes to him and says, someone is using your list to actually commit murders. And I don't know if you've ever seen Castle, but there's a early Castle episode, maybe even the first Castle episode, with the same premise. So that was kind of fun. I kept thinking about Castle, but other than that premise, they're not similar at all. But I'm gonna save talking about this till the end of the month, but I've already read it. It was wonderful. Spoilers to end of the month, but I'm going to be talking about this afternoon at book club. Okay, and so there is one more prompt, but I have not picked a book because it is, nope, I would much rather read this. And that is when maybe you get something new or something on your shelf is calling to you, hey, no, read me. And you can replace any book on there at any time with this prompt. So obviously I don't pick ahead for that. That's just if something else starts calling out. I'm really excited at this TBR. I could try to pick them all up. I did it earlier. I'm really excited for this. I know this is a huge TBR, I understand that, but the goal isn't that I'm necessarily going to, I'm going to put this down, but the goal isn't necessarily that I'm going to read all of them. It is to narrow down my choices so that I don't get stuck with that analysis paralysis. So I have something for my different reading moods already selected and ready to go, so I don't have to waste time trying to find the right thing, that I've got a smaller selection and those books are front and center in my mind for what I can read next. So I will let you know at the end of the month how this went, and if you decide to join me and pick books based on these categories, please share. I would love to know how it goes for you. So in the meantime, I need to go get ready for book club. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I hope you read a big old stack of some wonderful books. Bye, everybody.